can't trust it.
I'd like to call the meeting to order.
See how it says it's silent?
Do we have any special intentions?
You have his name? They told me to move on something for Kelly. And it's going to be Dominic and me. Dominic moves our second, okay?
What number?
Somewhere up here. Appointing. It must be this one.
Tell me.
That's the one about appointing someone. Which one?
To the committee?
No, to represent him on the council, to replace him. Do you have his name?
You have any special intentions?
Okay.
Thank you. Councilman Segura for special intentions. Where were you?
Yes, sir. Thank you. One of my constituents in District 2, Mr. Arthur Tadella's son, Kevin, passed away suddenly, and spoke with Arthur today, and certainly it's a very troubling time for him and his family. So I just wanted to put him in our prayers and let the family know that we're thinking about him. Thank you.
Councilwoman DeFrances.
And I second that. They have gone through so many tragedies, and this is just an additional one for them to face, which is horrendous when you lose a child. I also want to please ask all of you to keep Timothy Morrison in your prayers. He is the young man who's missing from the oil rig explosion, as well as all the other people that were injured in that disaster. They're all in our prayers. We pray for their speedy recovery, and we pray for Timothy Morrison and his family who's still missing. Thank you.
Councilman Segura.
And I'm sorry, I was trying to read this while I was going. Oh, yes. Also, I'm just noticing that Art Lentini's,
Right.
I'm sorry,
His father.
father, yes. I was trying to get place in my mind. Art Lentini, senator, former senator in the state, relative to Sal Lentini, former chief of police. Obviously, they're all related. So, but his father passed away. He was a veteran of back in World War II, Korea and Vietnam, and lieutenant colonel was his highest rank in the U.S. Army. So, certainly wanted to mention that and keep him in our prayers also for the Lentini family. Thank you.
And he was also the head of the Veterans Affairs and had done a phenomenal job when he was there. And you know the problems recently, so we need to thank him for his contribution. And let me tell you, I knew him personally. He was a great cook, he was a great storyteller, and a great person, and he will be missed. Thank you so much for mentioning him, Councilman Segura.
Councilman Impastato.
I'd like us to all keep the Zahn family in our prayers. The father of our mayor, Mr. Earl Zahn, who passed away actually the night after our last council meeting. So I'd like to keep their family in our prayers.
Thank you. I also would like to ask everyone to keep in their prayers the fallen police officer in the city of New Orleans that was murdered over the weekend. For him, his family, and all the police officers and EMS firemen for all the work that they do, and the military. Thank you. Councilman Reno.
Let us bow our heads and remember that we are in the presence of the Lord. Immortal God, Holy Lord, Father and Protector of all you have created, we raise our hearts to you today for those who have passed out of this mortal life. In your loving mercy, Father of all, be pleased to receive them in your heavenly company and forgive the failings and faults that they may have done from human frailty. Your only Son, Christ, our Savior, suffered so cruelly that he might deliver them from the second death. By his merits, may they share in the glory of his victory over sin and death. For all the faithful who have died, we pray, but in particular for those dear to us, parents, relatives, and friends. Nor do we forget all who did good to us while on earth, who helped us, by their prayers, sacrifice, and example. We pray also for anyone who may have done harm to us and stand in special need of your forgiveness. May the merits and prayers of our Virgin Mother Mary and all of the angels and saints speak for us and assist them now. This we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Councilman Klein, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum this evening. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. The consent agenda this evening, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of October 5th, 2017. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. We have none. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a report from Mayor Zahn.
Mayor Zahn, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Council Chairman. As we all know, on Sunday evening, there was a natural gas explosion on one of the rigs in near St. Charles Parish in Jefferson Parish waters. I want to first congratulate the Kenner Police Department and the Kenner Fire Department for being the first on the scene. It was not for sure where, we didn't know exactly where the explosion, what waters it landed in, but no matter what, the Kenner Police Department was out there doing their job right away. I was there also. Public Works showed up. Mr. Jimmy Dennis, of course, the chief was there, and the fire department followed shortly after that. And just so the Kenner residents know, which we've tried to explain out there, since this was Jefferson Parish waters, obviously the parish president and the sheriff stepped in immediately. They took control of it. It's called Incident Command. They took control of that, and they actually handled it from that point on. However, though, we stayed out there with Doug Dote, who was there probably before any of us, and Doug stayed there also with one of our other employees. And Kenner Police have stayed there patrolling the shoreline, making sure that everything is okay. That night, I asked the Kenner Fire Department and our interim fire chief, Ryan Bergeron, to actually go into the neighborhoods of District 5 and District 4, Councilman Klein and Councilman Impostata. Councilman Impostata was there also, sorry, to let the residents know that we're there if they need anything, and also check with those residents to make sure that there wasn't any damage. Because, not factual, but, one resident claimed that stuff hit his home. When the Kenner Fire Department approached him, just in case you hear these stories, when the Kenner Fire Department approached him in Chateau Lakefront, it seemed to be small pebbles. Probably not enough for the Kenner Fire Department to go out for. But anyway, it's been, at this point, no reported structural damage, which is important because that was our concern. Our concern is obviously the people on the rig, but at the same time, our concern and our duty was to take care of those residents that may have been affected. So we started in Gabriel, went to Chateau Lakefront, and we went as far as Wood Lake, obviously. I do think we went a little bit into Grand Lake, a little bit into Seton Park, because it was heard all over. I actually didn't hear it. I guess it went the other way instead of where I was. But just to let you know, and also the parish council was out there also, Jack Rizzuta. Just to let you know, we have been out there. The boat launch has obviously remained closed. Today it was reopened at 3 o'clock. So I'm here to say that our residents and others can now use the boat launch once again. I hope everybody understands, while Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office was out there and other agencies were out there, we could not open the boat launch. It is an inconvenience, but of course the safety and the search and rescue at the time, now the search and recovery, was first and foremost. With that said, I think the only other problem that we experienced that night, and I believe Councilman DeFrancis will address this later, was the mosquito problems that night, and 2 nights later, the mosquito problem at Night Out Against Crime. We'll be able to discuss that later on. We'll have a report for you and go from there. With that said, appreciate y'all's support.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. That will conclude your consent agenda this evening.
Motion by Councilman Wilmot, second by Councilwoman DeFranchis to accept the consent agenda. Please vote.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Under the public appearance agenda this evening, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding resolution number B16825, a resolution calling a public hearing on October 19, 2017, to determine whether the structures located at 3821 Ole Miss Drive in Kenner, Louisiana, shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal.
Motion by Councilmember Impastato, second by Councilmember Segura.
To open your hearing.
Open the hearing. Please vote.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to open your hearing. The Code Enforcement Department has a presentation tonight.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
All right, the structure in question, looking for the pictures. There it is. Structure in question is a pile-supported slab structure bearing the municipal address of 3821 Ole Miss Drive. Property is owned by Mr. and Mrs. Luis A. Oriana. On May 3rd, 2017, it was determined that the property was unsafe, dangerous under the building codes for the city of Kenner, as well as Section 5-57, that's all of the Code of Ordinances for the city of Kenner. On July 12, 2017, a notice was sent, certified mail, to the property owners, advising them of the property and building violations. The address is found via search engine. After the certified mail was returned unclaimed, being unable to locate the property owner, a curator was appointed by the city. As of this date, the violations have not been corrected, nor have they been brought any attempts to comply. The city has been maintaining the property for several years and has currently an amount owed of $25,409 in liens to the city of Kenner. City of Kenner also contacted the services of an engineer, and it is noted by the report of the engineer retained by the city of Kenner, who provided the following reasons of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, and abandonment. Utilities are disconnected. Portions of the exterior vinyl siding have fallen off, thus exposing the wood sheathing. Garage door area has been boarded up. The boards are weathered and rotten. Soffit is missing along the rear of the structure. Exterior of the structure is missing siding and trim at several locations. Clay roof tiles are missing along the ridge. And I might say there's several areas where rodents have been able to make entry into the building, and local youths have written on the side of the building as well. Based on the report of the engineer, the structure is a serious public hazard due to access into the structure from the back door. Recommends that the city take the steps necessary to declare it a public nuisance, have it abated by demolition, or brought up to current city codes and ordinances.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the subject matter? Name and address, sir. Oh, to the right, sir. Thank you.
Changed since last time I was here. Good evening, John W. Becknell III, 3445 North Causeway Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana, 7002. I was appointed curator ad hoc for the absent defendants, Walkiria Perales, wife of, and Luis A. Oriana. And I acted as agent to accept service and to attempt to locate the absent defendants, and I'd like to file the following note of evidence. Upon being appointed curator ad hoc, I caused an ad to be run in the Times-Picayune newspaper that stated, anyone knowing the whereabouts of Walkiria Perales, wife of and/or Luis A. Oriana, please contact John W. Becknell III, attorney, at 504-833-7325. This ad ran August 27th, 30th, and September 1st, 2017, and the certificate of publication is attached to my note of evidence as Exhibit A. I then ran an internet search to obtain additional information regarding the whereabouts of the absent defendants, which provided myself with one additional address belonging to the absent defendants. I then sent certified letters to the absent defendants at the property address of 3821 Ole Miss Drive and 1131 Corolla Trail Drive, Houston, Texas, with a copy of the prior correspondence sent to the absent defendants by the city along with a copy of the code violations affecting their property located at 3821 Ole Miss Drive. Both of these letters are attached here too as my Exhibit B. The letter mailed to 3821 Ole Miss Drive was returned to myself unclaimed. However, the letter mailed to 1131 Corolla Trail Drive in Houston was claimed by one of the absent defendants, Walkiria Perales. Said letter is attached here too as Curator's Exhibit C. Although Ms. Perales claimed the letter, no one has contacted me, and to date, I still have received no response from the absent defendants. On information and belief, my duties have been fulfilled. An invoice detailing my expenses incurred in connection with my duties in this matter is attached here too as Curator's Exhibit D. I now desire to be relieved of any further duties in this matter, and that the party requesting my appointment be ordered to reimburse my expenses and fees. I pray that this note of evidence be admitted into the above entitled record, that I be relieved of my duties, and that I be reimbursed for my fees once again.
Thank you,
If there's
sir.
any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
Councilman Wilmot, you have the floor.
I just have one question. When was the letter accepted?
Letter was accepted on, I believe she did not date it. 1 second. Yeah, there was no date on it, but it was mailed in August.
August, so it's several months.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address this subject matter? Seeing none. Motion by Councilman Impastato, second by Councilman Segura to close the public hearing. Council, please vote. Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilman Impastato, second by Councilman Segura to accept. Please vote. Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 12,303. An ordinance amending the Kenner Code of Ordinances, Article 2, Sections 15-23 and 15-18 pertaining to traffic controls around Chateau Estates Elementary School.
Motion by Councilman Klein, second by Councilwoman DeFrances. Council, please vote.
Mr. Chairman,
We have,
I believe that Councilman Klein.
Councilman
would you like
Klein?
to speak?
You want to speak on it?
Yes,
Okay,
Right.
thank you. Sorry about that.
okay. As most of you know, Chateau Elementary School is in the 4th District. The school over the years the students have increased, the number of students, and of course the number of grades they service has increased. So the traffic has increased. Back in February of 2016, Councilman DeFrancis and I had labeled a study that was done by digital engineering to see what could be done with the increased traffic flow and the complaints of the neighbors, mostly on Medoc and Tavel. So we've been following up on that, and now we have an ordinance that we think would decrease or at least eliminate or decrease the traffic on Medoc and Tavel at certain times of the day with pickup and delivery of the children. So without further discussion, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Glazer so he can elaborate on the efforts such as one-way signs, no left turn signs, school zone areas, and that sort of thing. He can give us a little more detail on that.
Thank you, Councilman. Chief, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. As Councilman said, this is an ongoing problem in and around the neighborhood. The biggest complaint we have had through the years is from the residents that on Tavel and on Medoc. We put some signage up to try to get the parents to not block sideways, not congregate and line up in queue lines in the neighborhood, and it hasn't worked. The campus has remained the same size. However, the student population is increased over the last 2 years. And there's some things that on rainy days it gets worse. Children walking. One of the problems we have is the increased population in and around the school and the children walking. Jefferson Parish School Board rules don't allow a bus within a mile of a school. We have roughly 155 children that are walking from the campus to Vouray, I believe it is.
It is forward.
So it just, on rainy days, the parents, come up, pick up their children. So I proposed that we put more signage, just kind of restrict non-resident traffic from entering the neighborhood prior to the dismissal of school. What they do now is they line up in the neighborhood and kind of just cause gridlock. There is no way in and out for the residents or any emergency vehicles. So if we line up the parents on Chateau Boulevard and prohibit them from entering Tavel Drive until the school is over, it'll keep the line of automobiles moving. And with some more signage and a no left turn sign at Medoc and Vintage, forcing them to take a right, it would actually keep the line moving a little quicker than it currently does today. So I think the ordinance itself has the detailed plan of where the signage would go and the restrictions before and after school. Any other questions?
Thank you, Chief. Councilwoman DeFrances, you have the floor.
Thank you. First of all, we need to thank a lot of people. One of them, of course, is Chief Glazer, because he was instrumental in coming up with this draft. And it does change the times also for when you can enter Medoc and you can't enter Medoc, as well as when you can actually enter Tavel, and the no turn, as he just mentioned. Also, we have to thank Colleen Winkler, who's the principal there, for working with us. We had residents involved in our meetings. We had Colleen involved. We had Chief involved. Jimmy Dennis, I have to thank him as well, because one of the comments from the neighborhood happened to be that although we had signs out there, they weren't as visible to some of the traffic, the people driving in that area. So Jimmy added additional signs so people would not block the sidewalks, they wouldn't block driveways, et cetera. So I also have to thank him. There are so many people that involved. The mayor, by the way, showed up too. We need to thank him for showing up at the meeting and being a force to say we all want to work together and address this problem. So all of us working together, I think, will make a difference and have, to some extent, made that difference already, and will continue to do so with the passage of this particular ordinance. So again, I wanted to thank everyone involved, because without everyone having their input, this would not have happened, and I think the problem could have escalated. And the chief was right on two other points, and I've got to touch on those. It used to be an elementary school. It's not just an elementary school anymore. It's a middle school as well. They have added 6th and 7th, 7th and 8th grade as well. So now we have additional children going there. And the problem in Vouray, you heard the chief mention how many children live on Vouray that attend Chateau Elementary. We are working with Sandy Donopoulos and members of the school board to try to get them to understand that we need a bus. It's 0.9. The rule is 1 mile. It's 0.9 miles. Sometimes you have to bend a little bit to address the situation before it gets out of hand. Those children, depending upon how we measure, and I think if we could do it a little bit with a little bit of creative thinking, could come up with that other 1/10 of a mile, and that would make a tremendous difference in the traffic flow, because we would be taking a lot of cars out of the mix, especially on rainy days, but even the rest of the time. So we are going to petition, working with Sandy Donopoulos, Lenny and I think the administration will join us, and I hope the chief will join us as well, in petitioning the school board to please allow a bus to be provided for the children on Vouray, so we can eliminate some of those traffic problems. So thank you to everyone concerned, Councilman Klein and the others, because together we can make a difference, and I think we are doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Klein to close.
One of the things that will be done is, pass this ordinance, is the school zone will be designated on Chateau Boulevard from St. Julian to 250 feet past Tavel. They'll also, on Tavel, they have do not enter signs, both eastbound and westbound, at pickup and delivery times. Also, there'll be a one-way sign on Medoc, okay, facing Champaign, between Tavel and Champaign, and they'll have a no left turn sign on Medoc, facing north at the intersection of Vintage. So that would decrease the traffic at the very least, and maybe eliminate some of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Motion by Councilman Klein, second by Councilwoman DeFrances to accept. Council, please vote.
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution amending Rule 22, agenda format of the Rules of Organization, Business Order, and Procedures of the Council of the City of Kenner.
Motion by Councilman Segura, second by Councilman Wilmot. Councilman Segura, you have the floor.
Thank you. What we're doing, or I'm hoping to do here, is just be a little more transparent and open. And sometimes when some of us will make a request of other council members or the administration for information, and that request is kind of vague and broad, and the proper answers are not available at the council meeting when they're expected to be. So what I'm asking to do here is just change the language in our council rules, that just to state that when we make a request for information, that we describe in a sufficient detail so that the council administration, as appropriate, can be properly prepared to answer and discuss that request. So all it is just trying to be more transparent and be more proficient in the answers that we give. So I would appreciate if council members would support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Motion by Councilman Segura, second by Councilman Wilmot to accept. Council, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution appointing Tulio R. Murillo to the City of Kenner Board of Zoning Adjustments.
Motion by Councilwoman DeFranchise, second by Councilman Carroll. Councilwoman DeFranchise.
Thank you. We have had a problem with not having enough people at the Zoning and Adjustment Board meetings sometimes. And so it is absolutely imperative that we have a full slate of people who can actually hear the appeals that come before them. And this is our way of making sure that we have people that we hope will look at the issues, be transparent, as we've always been talking about, it seems, at every council meeting. But first of all, be open-minded and listen to what the problems are and be impartial in their decisions. And so this is one of the reasons why I'm supporting Mr. Murillo. And if you say in Spanish, Murillo.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Motion by Councilwoman DeFranchise, second by Councilman Carroll. Council, please vote. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13C is a resolution to fill an anticipated vacancy in the office of the District 5 Councilman in accordance with Section 2.07 of the Charter of the City of Kenner.
Motion by Councilman Impastato, second by Councilwoman DeFranchise. Councilman Impastato, you have the floor.
Sure. Well, as a result of the honor that the citizens of Jefferson Parish District 4 bestowed on me Saturday night in electing me to the Jefferson Parish District 4 council seat, I will no longer be sitting in this seat as of October 31st, and I will be taking office on November the 1st. There is the possibility that I will take that seat on this coming Wednesday, but in all likelihood, it'll be October 31st. That being said, either of those dates fall before our next council meeting, which, for the Kenner Council, which will be November the 2nd. So on Sunday, after I won, I asked a very, very highly visible, very active District 5 resident if she would be willing to serve as the interim councilman for District 5 until, it would be until July 1st of next year, because the next election for this seat will be in the end of March, but will not take office until July 1st. So I approached Ms. Kelly Hand, who lives in Seton Park, very, very active citizen in the Seton Park area, Divine Mercy, Vineyard Church, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton School. Kelly has been really a part of a lot of the success we've had in District 5 in the almost 4 years I've been in this seat. She helped us reform the Seton Park Civic Association, which was dormant and defunct prior to me being in this seat. And she led the charge, and as a result of her efforts, not only got that Civic Association back live again, but is very much responsible for some beautification improvements that we were able to do through the city of Kenner in that neighborhood. And so she's been involved in Wood Lake Booster Club, basically every facet of the community in District 5 that we look for people who are willing to serve, we need service from. She's not, she's not a politician, nor will be one, has no intentions of running for this or any other seat, so that's not an issue. She just, thankfully, we're grateful that she's willing to serve and help us make sure that the good things we've had going on are going to continue for the next 9 months. So I want to thank Ms. Hand, who is here tonight, and ask all of my fellow colleagues to please join me in supporting her and allow her to join you guys up on this dais until July 1st. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion by Councilmember Impastato to amend the legislation to insert Kelly S. Hand as the name in the legislation. I have a motion by Councilmember Impastato, second by Councilmember DeFrances to amend to reflect that amendment.
Thank you. Council, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0 for the amendment. Back to your original motion as amended.
Motion by Councilman Impastato, second by Councilwoman DeFrances. As amended, Council, please. Councilwoman DeFrances.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to congratulate Ms. Hand. Kelly and I go way, way back. We've known each other for so many years, and I know her husband as well. And I know that the reason she's doing this is because she wants to make a difference in her community. I know how active she has been in District 5 in the Seton Park area especially, and her heart's in the right place, and she wants to simply make a difference in the community, and that's why she accepted this position. So therefore, I'm happy to support her, and I mentioned to her earlier, and I'll reiterate it now, anything at all I can do to help you, and any transition that I can make a little bit easier for you, I'm there for you. So please don't hesitate to call on me. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Councilwoman.
letting me say that.
Thank you. Motion by Councilman Impastato, second by Councilwoman DeFrances to accept. Council, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13D is a resolution asking the administration to have the Jefferson Parish Mosquito Control Department increase the spraying in the city of Kenner due to the increase of the mosquito problems in the city as experienced at the recent Night Against Crime event.
Motion by Councilwoman DeFrances, second by Councilman Klein. Councilman Segura, you have the floor.
Don't I move on my own?
Well, I didn't
I'm
see
sorry, I didn't get a chance to.
you. Councilwoman DeFrances.
Thank you so much. First of all, the mayor and I have spoken today at length, and we've spoken in the past. Let me just say this. We have been spraying. I just wanted to point out that we have emails to prove to the public, because I want them to know this is not just a problem that arose the other night. This goes back weeks and weeks and weeks. I can show you an email back on the 13th where we asked for increased spraying because we were having so many problems with mosquitoes throughout the district, everything from District 5. I know some people out there who called. I had people from District 4 call and other areas. So we asked for some increased spraying. They did go out and spray. And they also sprayed the night before Night Against Crime. The problem is something that is very unique to Kenner because of our location. And I'm going to give the mayor a chance to address it as well, because he's been working on it too, not just myself. And the problem is, I'm going to let you, that's what I was saying, I'm giving you a chance to address it as well. We've both been working on it. The problem is unique to Kenner. We have spoken to the Mosquito Control Office, and the problem is greatest in Kenner. I shouldn't say unique, because that implies we're the only one who having the problem. We're not the only ones, but we have the greatest problem, and the problem is because of our location next to St. Charles Parish, with the wind coming from the north, and the cold front that came in, the mosquitoes are blowing into Kenner at a phenomenal rate. And so despite all the spraying that's gone on, we need to increase it. And that's what this resolution was about. Not that we haven't been doing something about it, we have, but that we need to increase the spraying in order to keep up with the new problem created by the change in our temperature and the change in the wind direction. Mayor, wouldn't you like to say something as well on this problem?
Yes, thanks, Councilwoman. You're exactly right. It's the blowing of the wind from St. Charles Parish from its marsh. It seems that there's a stronger mosquito that's coming out of there that they actually say is, it's a stronger flyer, is what they call it, and a more
Yes.
aggressive biter.
Right.
So just going back a little bit, though, mosquito control back on October the 9th treated the areas from Veterans to the Lake, Grand Lake, Estates Drive, to East Loyola Drive. Of course, there's more area to do, and they have been doing that because on the 10th, they inspected that area and saw that what kind of mosquito is out there. So they seem to think there's more reproduction from this type of mosquito in urban areas, which is, I guess, is kind of odd. They sent back out on the 18th of this,
And the 13th,
or they
too.
will send out on the 18th to address this and get a little more active with their, not saying that they haven't been, but a little more active with the way they're doing it. In our discussions today with you and I think we've come to a conclusion that the best thing to do is to wait for Mr. Stein to come, because all he would do today, council, is come here, and to the people of Kenner, he would come here and just say what we just said. That's a waste of his time and a waste of our time. It's a waste of our residents' time. When he can come back in 2 weeks, and Councilman DeFrancis and I both agree, he can come back in 2 weeks, and he can actually give a report on has it gotten better or has it gotten worse. I can tell you, Sunday night with the explosion, it was terrible. Everybody was complaining. Shortly after that, I said this earlier, we had Night Out Against Crime. It was still bad. My staff our executive staff made every Night Out Against Crime between myself, Deborah, our CEO, and our deputy CEO, and a lot of other staff members. We had a few complaints. I know you made 15, and I think you said at each stop someone complained. It was bad. It was very bad. But I believe it's going to get better. It's just a more aggressive mosquito that we have to address, and I think Councilwoman agrees that on 2 weeks from now, after we go through the process and they go through their process, let's see what they have to say. If it hasn't gotten any better, then we need to address that with them. But, you know, dealing with mosquito control, I think each and every one of you all have had that experience with this group. I've had it here. I've had it in the parish. I've had it again back here. They do their job. It's just a type of mosquito that's, I guess, a hybrid. I don't know. I mean, it's a little bit different. So we'll deal with it. They'll deal with it. And hopefully in 2 weeks, we'll be able to say, thank you for doing it the right way.
Thank you, Mr.
And I wanted to point out that they also did it again, the entire area on the 12th. So they've been keeping up. In between the other nights you mentioned, they did the entire area on the 12th, and they did it again on the night of the 17th, which was the night before Night Against Crime. So they have been trying to do their best. They may need to step it up, as we said, but they're willing to work with us. That's the important part. It is not Kenner who's in charge of it. It is Jefferson Parish.
Right.
But when we spoke with Mr. Stein, I believe he said the same thing. They'll work to do whatever they need to do to try to address the situation.
Right, and I want to go back. I said they'll do it on the 18th. They actually did it last night on the 18th.
Right.
I'm a little messed up on the dates, but they did it last night. So they are living up to consistently doing it. So I stand corrected.
And they also ask people to call. You know, we call because they call our office, they call your office. They are willing to have the public also call directly to their office as well. And I believe that we have the number for them to call. And in fact, in the letter we received in my office, it says all resident employees can contact Jefferson Parish Mosquito Control at area code 504, and the number is 366-0084. And they have advised us that they will have taken care of the problem within 48 hours. That's pretty great when they're willing to do that for the city of Kenner's residents. So we just need to work together to see what needs to be done. And thank you, Mayor, for working with me on this issue. And together with Jefferson Parish, we're going to get that problem addressed for our constituents.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
I'd like to, Councilman Impastato, you have the floor.
I'll go. I'll wait.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just want to say that, thank everybody for their support. Also, I went out to the Night Out Against Crime to a number of the functions, but not only that, prior to the Night Out Against Crime, I go out on the playgrounds, the children are practicing football, and it is a terror out there for the mothers and the fathers trying to keep them protected from all the mosquitoes. So this is something that will obviously fix the situation for days to come, because, you never know how a mosquito may affect certain people. Personally, it's not that big a deal to me, but I'm sure there are some people who could get bit by a mosquito and will suffer more dearly than myself and many of us. So thanks again for all the support for everyone. Councilman Impastato, you have the floor, sir.
I was just going to suggest the way we handle it in District 5 is we call the Jefferson Parish Councilman, since it's a Jefferson Parish mosquito contract. So I hear the new guy's a pretty good guy, so I'd call him.
problem there now.
That'll be,
You got a number
Have
for
your
him?
office call him.
You got a number for him, Councilwoman
I
Pistato?
know the number. We'll be calling quite often.
Okay.
Greg?
Councilman Segura, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. And so, just so I guess kind of clear where we're going, we all agree that there's a mosquito problem, and I'm understanding that this legislation was intending to direct the mayor to ask for more work spraying, but it sounds like you've already done that on top of what Councilwoman DeFrances has already done. So, Ms. Councilwoman, are you still looking to move, or since you say this still is in the process, shouldn't we defer this then for 2 weeks? I did put up a motion already for the purpose of waiting and see, and then if they don't do what they're asking.
I mean, I'm not going to get involved in council business, but between you and I, in our discussion, I don't think
We
there's a
already
need.
decided we would
Is-
simply put it on the record because we promised, when we were out, at Night Out Against Crime, especially in Chateau Lakefront, we promised we would address the problem for the people that were being impacted.
Right.
To put a resolution forward that simply states that we're working with the Mosquito Control Office in Jefferson Parish to address the problem and ask them if need be, they increase spraying as needed, I don't think is a problem. It shows that you and I are working together to protect the residents as we promised them we would.
So you have
So
an
I see-
amendment then?
So you asked about deferral, so if you're asking me, Mayor, if I think we need to defer, I don't believe we need to defer it.
Right, I just thought in our conversations that it was a moot point at this point. Maybe that's not the direction you were going in, but we were already doing it as our discussion earlier. We continue to do that, and we'll have Mr. Stein come in 2 weeks. I thought we were going to
Yes,
move
we
on.
will ask
I thought we were
Mr.
going to just
Stein in
move
2
on
weeks.
to the next step, which is requesting him to come
And
in 2 weeks.
I'll be happy to work with you
Okay,
on that.
that's fine. It's up to y'all how y'all handle the.
So I still had the
Item
floor, I just had
we're on.
yielded to her. So is there an amendment that you're putting to change some language on this? Because it didn't sound like that's what is in there, what you just said.
Up to y'all. I mean, do you want to offer?
Yeah,
Well,
we're
no,
gonna,
It's her, I'm
Right.
I don't see a
questioning.
problem.
So I think-
Councilman Segura, I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill. I think the people of Kenner want us to work together in order to address problems as they crop up. This was a problem that was throughout the city. I started I went to 4 different night events in District 1. I went to District 4. I went to District 5. Everywhere I went, there was a problem. Some of the people believe it's Kenner's problem. They don't realize that it is Jefferson's Office of Mosquito Control that is responsible for spraying. So they question whether or not we were doing it. So what the commitment I made to those people is that I would work with the administration and we would ask them as needed that we would have additional spraying. Now, I can't dictate, the mayor can't dictate, but we can ask. And all we're saying is, and from speaking to Mr. Stein, as I said, the worst hit problem is Kenner and will continue to be Kenner for a while. So we want to make sure that they know we need, whatever they need to do in additional spraying to keep our people safe, we need to do it. And that's what this is all about. A very, very simple resolution to protect the people. To get a deferral makes it a mountain out of a simple little request where we've worked together. But it's up to the council to decide what the rest of the council wants to do.
so Councilman Klein, your light is still up. Would you like to speak on this subject, sir?
Yes. You know, all of us, or almost all of us, grew up in this area. Mosquitoes have always been an issue. We got to remember, for 3 months during the summer, all it did was rain. It rained and rained and rained. So naturally, we have more mosquitoes this year than we normally do. I've heard and seen the mosquito control spraying in my District 4, as well as District 5 and the other districts that I've visited. I would be in favor of a deferral. I thought that's what we were doing till the next meeting.
Slap in the face, okay.
I actually thought we were just removing this item because obviously the District 4 councilman is here tonight. By the time this gets done, he will actually be able maybe to come back and give us a report with Mr. Stein, or we can at least call the new District 4 councilman and get this done.
I
Councilman
probably could have
Stoddard?
solved it in the less time in this discussion.
Exactly. So, I
Thank
mean,
you.
I thought it was being removed because the discussion is here in public. We are already working toward that, and in 2 weeks, Councilman Vestado will be that councilman, and we'll be ready to move forward with that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Segura, I apologize for not letting you close, but now you have the floor to close if you want to, whatever your decision is, so we can move
Presume at
forward.
this time, since I heard no amendments to language, I'll move forth with the motion for deferral to allow this time for this process to work, and then if it doesn't work, we can put it in place to tell the mayor what to do.
Motion by
I think the
Councilman,
work's being done, I agree, so let's.
motion by Councilman Segura to defer. We have a second by Councilman Klein to defer. Any discussion on the deferment? Council to vote on the deferment.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Nay. Councilman Reyno? Mr. Chairman, motion passes 5-2. Council members DeFranchis and Reyno are opposed. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,297, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from the Equipment Guy LLC to furnish and install new spring floor at Barbary Gym in accordance with seal bid number 17-6406 and an amount not to exceed $18,790 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Reyno. Council, please vote. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 12,298, an ordinance approving amendment number 2 and the renewal number 3 to the agreement between the City of Kenner and 3 Cs Properties Incorporated, which extends the term through December 31st, 2018, and increases the not-to-exceed amount to $25,000 annually for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilman Segura, second by Councilman Klein to accept. Council, please vote. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 12,299, an ordinance authorizing a cooperative endeavor purchase agreement with Genuine Parts Company doing business as Napa for the purchase of automotive parts on an as-needed basis in accordance with Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, bid number 17-AUG-2301, and an amount not to exceed $150,000 annually for the Department of Fleet Management.
Motion by Councilwoman DeFranchis, second by Councilman Wilmot. Council, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 12,300, an ordinance approving the utilization of Jefferson Parish Contract 55-16631 with Traffic Solutions Incorporated for guardrail maintenance on an as-needed basis and an amount not to exceed $50,000 annually for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilman Reyno, second by Councilman Segura to accept. Council, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 12,301, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Barrier Construction Company, LLC, received September 13, 2017, by the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development in the amount of $6,088,417.01 for the New Orleans Airport Connector Road State Project Number H.011276, Kenner Public Works Project Number 2014-00-A-RB for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Epistato to accept. Council, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 12,302, an ordinance approving an agreement with Richard C. Lambert Consultants, LLC for construction, engineering, and inspection-related services for the New Orleans Airport Connector Road State Project Number H.011276 and H.011794, Federal Aid Project H.011276 and H.011794, Kenner Public Works Project Number 2014-003-A-RB in an amount not to exceed $530,434 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilman Segura, second by Councilwoman DeFranchis to accept. Please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15G is a resolution accepting as complete the agreement with Han Enterprises Incorporated dated July 18, 2017 regarding the furnish and install new Little Tykes playground equipment or equal and no-fault pour-in-place safety surface or equal at Alabama Playground for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilman Reyno, second by Councilman Wilmot to accept. Council, please vote. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision of lots 9 through 14 and lots 35 through 40 into lots 9A, square 41, Highway Park subdivision, City of Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, which lots are owned by O'Reilly Automotive Stores Incorporated. Item 16B is an ordinance approving the utilization of Jefferson Parish Contract Number 55-16828 with Trantex Transportation Products of Texas Incorporated to provide thermoplastic pavement markings on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $50,000 annually for the Department of Public Works. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Bliss Products and Services Incorporated to furnish and install new playground equipment and pour in place at AP Clay in accordance with seal bid number 17-6405 in an amount not to exceed $37,270.82 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16D is an ordinance repealing and restating ordinances 9325, 10,834, and 10,915 to provide for the dedication of funds received from the sale of city-owned movable property and providing for related matters. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees.
Councilman Impastato, you have the floor, sir.
I was going to let anybody else go for me. Mine might take a minute. Well, as Mayor Zahn indicated before the meeting started, this will be my last time sitting in this chair before the citizens of the city of Kenner as their councilman, as your councilman. And I'd be remiss if I did not say a few farewells and thank yous and reflect just for a moment, if y'all will indulge me, on the last few years. This has been an excellent experience for me. I've thoroughly enjoyed being able to do the things that we've done for the citizens of Kenner District 5, but more importantly, the city of Kenner as a whole. And I'm very proud to say we did that as a group, collectively. All 7 members sitting here tonight and a couple others who were on the council before. And but we've had a lot of success. Things that we did for the Recreation Department, very much an overhaul of that system in many ways, a very progressive initiative. The Butch Dewey Travel Academy that we started, the 2030 improvements, the economic development initiatives, the Parks and Recreation developments in District 5, some of the largest renovations in the city's history since those facilities were built. We did all of those with the support of pretty much everyone here. As I recall, pretty much all of those were unanimous votes. So to my colleagues, you know, any credit that I've gotten, I have to, as I've said in every public forum, thank you guys for supporting me in those initiatives. And I think together we did some really good things. And I'm confident we're leaving the city of Kenner in a better place than it was before I sat in this chair. And so I want to thank you all for that. We took on Uber and Lyft, probably one of the most innovative things that a municipality could encounter. Brought in some major construction projects into District 5, and all of you sitting up here were very, very supportive during that effort. So I'm very appreciative. To the directors, you know, I've said this once before, and I'll say it again. We as elected officials get credit very much for the work that you guys do. You guys handle the implementation. You guys get it done, and you make the elected officials look good. I am no exception to that. Ronnie Vitalero, Ken Maricoli in particular, the city attorney's office, Lee, Ed, and Eric, Mike Wetzel, Rick Walther, I mean, just to name a few. I mean, you guys, every one of the directors in the city of Kenner always made me feel like I was your top priority. And I was able to do things for the citizens of District 5 because of y'all. And I hope you know how much that meant to me. We tried to raise y'all's pay. We tried to treat you the way you deserve. And I apologize, maybe we didn't do a good enough job there because, you know, God knows what you guys are worth is a hell of a lot more than the city of Kenner pays you. Y'all are incredible. Chief of Police, Chief Glazer. The other night, Ben kind of mentioned it, but what I saw the other night when I appeared on the scene of that explosion was nothing short of spectacular. An incident that was very much without a leader and not in control, and I watched you in your element, and it was impressive to say the least, and makes me feel confident, not that I wasn't before, but to have you as our leader is absolutely incredible for the city of Kenner. You endorsed me and supported me every step of the way when every law enforcement official, from the sheriff of Jefferson to the sheriff of Rockridge, who knows, was all pressing you to do something else, and yet you stood up for me without hesitation, and I'll never forget that. To the council members, Councilman Wilmot, your reputation at the legislature for being pleasant, workable, preceded you, and you lived up to that. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure for the last 6 months to sit here with you, 8 months, whatever it's been. It's been nothing but wonderful, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate your friendship. Councilman Klein, you've always delivered for us when we needed you, no question. You know, there's not an initiative that I tried to take on behalf of the constituents of District 5 that you didn't support. And I truly, on their behalf, appreciate you for that. Councilman Carroll, you know, I tell you, we didn't always see things the same way, but there's certainly some issues that we stood shoulder to shoulder on, no question. And your motives and your commitment to your community that you represent is something that should serve as a model to the rest of us. And I want to let you know I respect you immensely, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Councilman Segura, you know, you and I shared something that most people will never get. That year of the interim year, we got a few stories that we can probably tell for a long time. And truthfully, I think when we look at that year and the things that we were able to accomplish as a council and administration together is something that I think a lot of cities should envy. And you stepped up, and I've said it before, without a dollar's extra pay to sit in that role, and you worked like a dog at it. And you know, you've definitely been a champion of things that I needed, and stood up for me in many difficult situations. And there hasn't been a difficult situation on this council that you have backed down from, and it's been great to be beside you. Councilman DeFrancis, you know, I'll tell you, I've said this before, and I'll reiterate it. You probably had one of the greatest impacts on the manner in which I've campaigned. In December of 2013, you emphasized to me how important it was that my family be involved every step of the way. And we replicated that over the last year, and I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that that was very much because of your influence. So I must thank you for that. Regardless of anything else that may or may not have occurred, that is something I will absolutely remember, and so I appreciate that. Councilman Reno, you know, when I ran for District 5, we didn't know each other well at all, and both you and your wife knocked doors for me, Facebook messages, I mean, did almost anything you could to help me succeed, and I was very appreciative of that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the contribution that made to my success in winning that seat. When this race came, yet again, you guys knocked doors, Facebook messages, really far above and beyond what you did in that last race. And I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge how much I believe that contributed to my success. And so I must thank you guys for that, for everything you did. Lastly, I want to let all of you know, and the citizens of Kenner know, that you have a friend in Jefferson Parish. And we have needs in Kenner that must be served by working with the Jefferson Parish government. And the success that I've been able to see the citizens of District 5 embrace and enjoy was very much the result of having a Jefferson Parish councilman in Mayor Zahn who worked vociferously and vehemently to make sure that the city of Kenner had what it needed. My commitment is to do that and be that partner for you guys. And I hope you don't hesitate to call me for anything at all, and I won't be a stranger, I promise. But with that, I appreciate all of you, and thank you very much. It's been a hell of a ride. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilman Tagore, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Dominic, thank you for all those kind words. Certainly, you and I started on this political career together. We were out in our respective districts running our respective races and looking to get up here, and certainly we were successful. And since that point, we've worked together hand in hand, and as you said, worked hard on every issue. May not have always been together on every issue, but I admire your positions as well as I believe you certainly understood my position. So, but that just shows how things can work out even though you're not together. And being sometimes not together doesn't mean we don't dislike each other. We just know how to work together and get things done. And that is what counts, as long as the outcome is getting things done and for the best part of the city. So the fact that you've ran a hard race, congratulations again. And as you touched on, thanks to Councilwoman DeFranchez's advice, there's your family. Thank y'all. Thank y'all heartily for helping him and getting him to our parish council seat where we can now lean on him and get more out of him than we got here. So, so it's certainly been an extreme pleasure working alongside of you and together with you, as you said, as when I took on as the acting mayor and you the council president and ran the council's business, and we worked together to keep the city in a trying time of having no elected mayor, but going through the elections for a mayor for that long of a time, and still keep the city in a positive direction and keep it moving forward to where it is today. And thank you for your help in doing that. And like I said, now that you're going to the parish, you will be called upon for even more help. So thank you very much for taking on that challenge and being successful at it, and we will be talking again shortly more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Also, Councilman Impastato, congratulations on you and your family's success for this race. Obviously, they are a main part of what you do based on the love and the support that they give you from your father all the way through your brothers, your wife, your children, and all of your relatives. So you guys deserve this. You did put in the good work. And thanks for the kind words you said about me. Listen, the reality is we have disagreed on a couple of things, but we weren't elected to agree on everything. And I will never agree with anyone on the planet on everything, not even my wife, So I'm not supposed to agree with everybody on everything. But what I would like to say is we come from different parts of the town, different families, different this, different that. Our perspectives are a little different on certain things. But I appreciate the fact that even through it all, we remain professional about it. And we agreed to disagree and moved it on to the next thing. After it was over with, we went on to the next thing, which was our responsibilities for the city of Kenner. So I appreciate you for having that attitude, which helped me also, even though we disagree, that we were able to move on for the city of Kenner. So best of luck to you, man. Thank you. Good job. Councilman Wilmot, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Dominic, I'd like to chime in on that as well. You've done a lot of good for the city of Kenner, and we appreciate all that you've done. In addition to that, we wish you well on Jefferson Parish Council, and we will be calling. We have your contact information, so thank you, and be aware. Thank you.
Councilman Klein, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. When Councilman Impastato got elected, the city needed three things. They needed cooperation, compromise, and progress to move the city forward. And there was three attorneys on the council at that time, Keith Conley, myself, and Councilman Impastato, and people said, oh, y'all not going to agree upon anything, you're going to fight over everything. And that's not true. If you just look at the projects Councilman Impastato brought to his district and other projects he brought to the whole city, you can see the city has moved forward. He did a great job. We look forward to working with him in Jefferson Parish. Prior to Councilman Impastato taking over District 4 in Jefferson Parish, it was held by Benzon, who is now our mayor. He helped us out, and we look forward to helping us. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Lenny.
Oh, and I'll be remiss in saying this, that remember, guys and girls, when you take on one Impastato, you take on the whole family.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor Zahn, you have the floor, sir.
I said most of what I wanted to say before, but of course, an official congratulations, and I'll back that up, Councilman Klein. The Impastato family, and I've said this numerous times at numerous events that I had the honor of introducing you, or actually introducing you when you actually became the District 4 councilman Saturday night. The Impastato family is a family that I have never experienced before, that comes in, and you said parachutes into a precinct. I'll say that they bring the tank into the precinct and actually come out with at least 150, 200 signs in a precinct, and I'm impressed by that, and you are very lucky. They're lucky to have you, but you know that you're very lucky to have each and every one of them. So my hat's off to the Impastato family.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilwoman DeFranchise, you have the floor.
Councilman Dominic Impastato and I have worked very diligently on this council, and I think everyone knows that everyone knows my heart is with the city, and I believe it is for Councilman Impastato, who grew up here as well. And I am very happy to say that I will be doing everything I can to help the city of Kenner by working together with Jefferson Parish and therefore Councilman Impastato's office. And I think we've worked well here, and hopefully we can continue to work together for the good of the city and the good of the parish. So congratulations.
I believe that's it, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Item 18 is new business. At the request of Councilwoman DeFranchise, a discussion from Mr. Sam Steins, Chief Biologist for Jefferson Parish Mosquito Control Center, concerning mosquito problems in Kenner.
Since we previously had a major discussion on this issue, it doesn't make much sense to continue the discussion, especially since Mr. Stein is not here. But as if the problem continues, which I'm afraid it may because of the very nature of the problem that exists for Kenner, its location, the north wind, and everything else we talked about, proximity to St. Charles Parish, I do believe we may have Mr. Stein at the next meeting. We will play it by ear, and I will let the people of Kenner know very soon whether or not that is going to take place. But the discussion, I feel, is a moot point at this point because of it is really, in essence, already taken place. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Item 19 is unfinished business and no motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Yes, ma'am, we have a few. Mr. Al Morella.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 45 years. I want to extend my condolences to the Zahn family for their loss. I also, while I'm on the mayor, I want to respond to some of his comments at the last council meeting. I have no problem with movies being filmed in our city, and but what I have a problem with is the secrecy surrounding it. And on the first reading, one of the items on the first reading at the last meeting's agenda is going to address some of that. And this item we had on the agenda tonight, 13A, about the transparency and, getting the information, requested information. I would propose that when all of this is worked out, when the mayor gives his report, to give us a report on the revenues that are generated to the city of Kenner through permits and occupational licenses surrounding those movie productions. I want to commend the city of Kenner officials, Jefferson Parish officials, for their response with that disaster in the lake the other night. This is exactly why I expressed my concerns last year over that natural gas line running parallel to the bridge that crosses Canal Number 7. Now, the Pontchartrain Center, I want to thank Deborah Foshee for giving me that information like she promised at the last meeting. The correct figure is $133,000. That's what the subsidy is. As far as I'm concerned, that's still a lot of money, although it has declined over the over the last few budget years. But I would propose that we get an independent audit down there if we have not gotten one yet. We need an independent audit, and I want to see where that $133,000 is justified. Okay? Now, I want to direct this to Ms. Roussel. At the last meeting, we talked about the accident that happened over here on private property at the airport with that gentleman using the portalet. Now, I wasn't implying, Ms. Roussel, that we had the authority to go on that job site and issue
45
the
seconds,
riot
Mr.
act.
Morello.
Okay, to issue the riot act to these people. All I was merely suggesting was if the accident was not reported to OSHA, and jurisdiction does not come into play, anybody can report an accident like that to OSHA, and you can rest assured, if they hadn't reported it, it's been reported now. I took care of that myself. And in closing, just a few more seconds, Councilman Carroll. In closing, I want to wish Dominic, Councilman Impastato, all the success in the world in the 4th District on the Jefferson Parish Council. Because if you succeed, the people in the 4th District succeed. And I will see you there at that meeting on November the 15th in the Joe Yanni building. Unless that schedule changes, which I'm on top of that too. Okay, anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Fauché, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Al, thanks for not ratting me out that I promised to give it to you last time, and I gave it to you 2 minutes before the meeting started because you reminded me, so thank you for keeping that secret from everybody. I appreciate it. I just want to let you know we do have the audit back just recently. There is an independent audit. We do the independent audit of the entire city. So we will be able to provide the results for the Pontchartrain Center for you. I've had a chance to go over the materials that I gave to you right before the meeting, which I just hastily copied and didn't actually spend a lot of time looking at. It looks like this year, the subsidy, as you call it, is a 133. Last year was 179. But the year before that, there was a profit of 639,000. So it may be that on balance over the years, it is actually, like any business, some years are up, some are down, but we may not have that much of a deficit. So we'll take a look at that for you and have a conversation with you after I get the audit back. The second thing I just want to let you know that the item you're talking about that was on the agenda, I think it was the last time, we are creating a film sort of tracking system where we are going to have a permit requirement. The large purpose of the permit requirement is so we can keep track of who is where, make sure they've got the right security and all of that. We may or may not be able to give you the actual numbers on like what they spend at the grocery store, the restaurant, or all of that, but at least we'll be able to project out for you based on what we do know, what we think's going on. So give us a little while because we've got to get that passed and set up and get somebody checking it, but we're going in that direction. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you, Ms. Foshee.
Thank you. Councilman Impastato, you have the floor, sir.
I just wanted to thank Al for the good wishes. I appreciate it, Al. And to say that one of the happiest moments in my campaign was being able to put a sign on 4260 East Loyola. It was a wonderful night.
Thank you, Councilman. Pastor Jackie Crockerham Brown. Name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Pastor Jacqueline Cockerham Brown. Congratulations, Mr. Impastato, and much success in your new venture. I would just like to say that to Ms. Roussel, is that Roussel or Forte? The airport lady. Roussel. The hotline number that was given to me by Mr. Charles and also by you, I dialed the night of the last meeting that we had while we were still in meeting. No one answered. I left a message, and when I went back home, I had an ordeal with the noise again. I called, no one answered, and I'm thinking a hotline is like a suicide hotline that someone's going to pick up. I called that day. At 10 o'clock last night, I called and I filmed a video. 2 weeks, in the middle of the 2 weeks, there has been disturbances at 1:15 a.m., 2:32 a.m. And to this point, dialing 444-6001, no one has returned a phone call yet. No one. I've spoken to several neighbors, and they're upset about it because they're awakened and children are asleep and schedule is disturbed. So I would appreciate if perhaps you and I can get together and call together and see if they answer your call, because I really would like to have something done.
Can I respond?
Absolutely.
Pastor Brown, we had a very productive meeting this past Monday. Councilman Carroll can address this as well, with the members of the NOAB, the aviation director, his deputy director, their attorney, and also members of the construction team that are in charge of the project. They proposed some options to address the noise on Decatur. We are currently looking into those options. I think that it won't happen overnight, Pastor Brown, but I believe that you will be pleased with what the airport has proposed to do. They've actually proposed to put up what's called a Jersey wall or a sound wall on a dedicated but unimproved street that is adjacent to Decatur. That should help with some of the noise that's coming from the concrete thatches that is affecting your street, your neighborhood. They've offered to do that at their expense, and I think that will alleviate the problem. Now, as far as Mr. Pruitt, he actually attended the meeting, and I believe that his cell phone is the hotline. I will be happy to call him with you and get him on the phone. I don't know why he didn't answer the phone or hasn't answered the phone. I don't want to speak for Mr. Pruitt, but I'm happy to call him with you. Absolutely.
Can we do that before you leave tonight?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any questions?
Also, Ms. Brown, as attorney said, we had that meeting. I think it was productive. There are a couple of legal issues also that we're looking into to have to make sure that we are correct on everything. And once we are clear with that, as far as who owns the property, who owns this, and some other things, I would personally give you a call and let you know how we're going to proceed forward with this situation.
Is that the meeting I asked to be invited to?
I'm not
You
sure.
all had without me?
We had the meeting without you.
Yes, I know
we did.
that, obviously.
Okay.
Well, I would definitely like to be involved and kept abreast of what's going on.
Most definitely. We will.
I did call Kenner Police, and they said that because it was private property, they could not do anything about it. But I was going through every resource that I could possibly go through because of the time of morning it was when it happened. And I think it's unfair to us, and please don't defer this. This is safety and health reasons. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You too, Rick.
Miss Beverly Crafts? Graves. Sorry about that. Name and address, Miss Graves.
What are you sorry about?
I mispronounced your name.
My name is Beverly Craze, and I live at 29 Zion Street in Woodlake Subdivision. Congratulations, Dominic. The 5th District is going to not have you anymore. But we're glad you'll be in Jefferson.
Thanks.
So, I'll tell you why I'm here tonight. It's about a code of ordinances, and I don't know the article, but it's under section 15-54. It has to do with the time a vehicle can be parked. On October the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th, a truck was parked in front of my property. I took pictures of it each day because they have done things like this before. I emailed it in to Ben Zahn's office, Mayor Zahn, and I also emailed it in to code enforcement. Now, personally, I think they weren't in compliance because they were already parked there over the time. I think they should have been cited, but that's how I feel personally. They did send an inspector out, and they put the paint stripes in the street, okay? So that truck can park there for another 48 hours and then move 1 foot. And that's what's happening. They go a foot forward, a foot back. They turn the truck around to face the other way. So they're in compliance. At the same time, it's permanently parked in front of my property. Now, actually, if you do it like that, it gives them 96 hours, and they don't have to move the truck, but maybe a foot. And that's the way the ordinance. Mr. Walters was very nice to explain it to me in detail exactly how it works. I don't know if there's anything that can be done about it. It just doesn't seem right. So I thought I'd come to the council and talk to you about it. I think if it was in any one here, if that was the situation in front of their property, they wouldn't be pleased about it either. Not only that, it's going to be a problem when the man comes to cut my grass because it's sitting right there on the curb. So, you know, if a rock flies, I'm going to get blamed for damaging their truck, or if they try to edge along that edge, they're not going to be able to get to it. But they have a brake tag, they have a license plate, and if they move it 1 foot every 48 hours, they're in compliance. Thank you for taking time to listen to me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Mr. Walter, you have the floor. Mr. Walter, as a comment, miss.
Well, Ms. Craze and I know each other very well, and the issue is more personal. The neighbor and and her husband have gone back and forth for several years now, and the neighbor's truck, he knows, irritates her, so he purposely parks it there, but he knows that if he moves it a little bit, it's 48 hours, we mark the tires, and it's just about not friendly neighbors. So it's within code, and it just, she gets frustrated from the antics that go back and forth.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, and Mr. Walters and I did have a conversation about it. You know, he's aware of it, and I am too. I just felt that you're my counsel. I've lived in Kenner for 38 years. I thought I could come and at least express my displeasure with the situation. In case anything else would arise from this, you all are aware of it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Greg Teff. Name and address, Mr. Teff.
My name is Greg Taft. I live at 3720 West Loyola Drive in Kenner. First, I want to point out, y'all did not handle protocol right when you voted to bring Ms. Hanna on, because there should have been a question. a couple questions asked if she's going to be running for the seat or if she's going to be running for another seat. I don't know why y'all didn't ask that, but understanding sometimes we want to do things that benefit us rather than benefit the constituents. So, Ms. Ham, would you mind if I ask you?
No, I'm gonna object and say a point of order. There is nothing in our council rules that permits a person in the public to question another person in the public at the council dais. I'm gonna ask that the council chairman.
I'm a District 5 resident.
I'm gonna ask that, it's a point of order. Council rules are specific as to what can and cannot be done in the council.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Taft, you got to address your question to the council, please.
All right, and maybe you can ask her, is she going to run for District 5?
I'm not sure, but I thought
I'll happily answer it.
I heard Councilman
happily
Epistato answer that.
I'll happily answer it.
He actually answered it.
Had you listened when I was speaking, the question didn't need to be answered because I stated it in my opening and when I requested that she be appointed. That's specifically what I said.
She's appointed to my district. I mean, we never saw you that much, and I've never heard of the young ladies, and I'm living in University City.
Good.
I mean, I know I don't count. I realize that. But the problem is, in District 5, we need a councilman, and I'll be honest with you, I'm in support of a person, Danny Green, because I need somebody in District 5 that will represent the
Is this
people.
political talk and is this campaigning during?
No, sir. What I'm saying
Yeah,
is.
be careful. Don't mention any.
Okay, we in District 5 deserve equal representation. We're not getting it. We have not got it. And y'all just come in here and, y'all can appoint anybody you want. My problem is, why can't District 5 residents have some say-so? It doesn't make sense to me. Y'all can fluff it up any way you want, because that's exactly what you're doing. That's really all I want to say, because you don't really care what the constituents of Kenner think. Epistato, I know you don't. So, y'all don't care. That's the way y'all want to be, that's fine. But remember, there's people out there that do care about Kenner and do care about the way y'all vote on things. And one day, it could come back and haunt you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taft. Councilman Epistato, you still have the floor. I don't know if you wanted to say anything else. If not.
Nah, I'm not going to address a baseless personal attack. 73% of District 5 apparently think that I care about.
Well, we're not going to get political again, like you said. I will only address Mr. Taft to say that it was addressed in his remarks that Ms. Hand would not be running for public office. So it was. That's why there was no reason to ask the question. Nothing was done illegally. It was done. We've been doing this for as long as I can remember, as far as council people moving on, the process that we do. You have the right to express like you did today. So I just wanted to imply that we did something illegal or inappropriate. That never happened. So it's your opinion, and you are entitled to your opinion. I think that's it. Motion to close.
Move.
Close.